Alright guys, so Tuesdays, chess day, hyperloops, wherever you know us from. I'm gonna try to make an attempt at going back to Heimer Karma. Obviously the pure value from Karma is pretty great. And I think Heimerdinger gives you that play early on. Like the Ezreal deck gives you combo out, right? Like you can kill somebody from 12. But it doesn't necessarily give you solid board position stuff. So let's go back. We're gonna try to make this action work again like the old days and see what we come up with here. Um, so pretty cut and dry. You pretty much always need thermal because you need to answer kind of the early game. I'm gonna put a health potion for now so I don't forget about it. Anytime you're playing like the super late game decks, because people try to steal a game very often, the health potion could kind of claw back, right? Like I guess if you board wipe something, you can kind of treat this as almost as if you played a guy and then traded early on, right? And I think that's particularly fine. I've seen jerry rigs do pretty well in Ezreal, so let me put a couple of those. See if maybe that's incorrect. Maybe we end up cutting it, but I don't want to skip out on anything. Definitely want a couple rummages. I'm gonna put the 3 for now, and we'll probably come back and cut one of those depending on what we have access to and how many cards we burn through. The big thing is that Karma on 10 sets you up with Rummage really well, unless we're going to go heavy on Progress Day, and we feel that that's a viable option. I want the Rummages to set up for Karmas as well as filtering through trash and setting up jury rigs. Not a big fan of like any of those 1-drops. We get into 2s. I think Kempunk Pickpocket is huge. Playing against control, you're going to force them to kill it. If you swing in, and they have like their one guy, they might have to force a trade as well because they don't want you to get a copy of a spell from the thing. Like if you get the spell from their deck, it's real strong. Eager Apprentice is that weird one where I still want to freaking run it. I think it's largely viable versus the aggressive decks. We're gonna put 1 so I don't forget about it. But in general, I'm a big fan. With the hit to Chump Wump, I did consider Clump of Wumps. I just don't think he kills enough guys. In general, if you take into consideration like Get Excited and ditching the free card to Rummage potentially, there could be a rationale for running Clump of Wumps, but not the way we're going to do it. I'll explain once we get to like the later stuff and you'll see why. Obviously not going to run stuff like Flame Chompers. The Challenger thing's cool, but it's not necessary. We're not an aggro deck. So, obviously not going to run any of these. Green Gate Lookout's a funny one, but we want to... We could put 1 health guys in the deck so they get shot, and then, Heimerdinger's guys stay alive. But I think, largely speaking, we're just going to try to get that value off of Heimerdinger, even if they kill it, to kind of go plus card advantage, so that even if we, kill their guys 1 for 1, if we did it with Heimerdinger on the board, we're getting 1 or 2 extra guys, and that should kind of situate us to go well into Karma, or at the point where you hit Heimer plus Karma, you just kind of explode out. Mystic Shots, obviously, they're really good Karma win condition at the end. There is a consideration for Key Guardian. I'm going to put 1 for now. The rationale for Key Guardian is just if you Key Guardian a Karma, you could like play her into the decks that only have direct damage to deal with her. So then you'd be able to get her for the round, and then potentially next round have a deny available. Because like on 5 you can't have the Dinger or Karma with deny up, but you could have Key Guardian plus them. Or if Key Guardian previously on a turn where you just had like extra because you didn't play anything. So I think that's a reasonable assessment there. We don't particularly care about any of these. And I think the thing about Jerry Rig is that because you're seeing a lot of Demacia and not a bunch of Fearsome, that you can run stuff like this and Eager Apprentice and not feel completely terrible about it. Emerald Awakener, if we had any pump spells or pump type effects, would be a viable option. Flash of Brilliance is weird, right? Because Heimerdinger's kind of fallen out. I'm going to put 1 so we don't forget that it's an available option, but it's actually much worse than it used to be because of the 6+ random in hand. We're going to see what's 6+ at the end and see if there are enough viable options we'd be content with having Flash happen. The other issue is that you really don't want a bunch of dead cards. If you don't hit Heimer, Flash doesn't do much. Like, yes, you could just cast it anyways, and then maybe YOLO hit one of the big spells. But if we're really tight on space and we need the protection for Dinger or Karma, that doesn't really do either. It just kind of it's an enabler for Heimerdinger for 3/1 elusives, and if we don't find that that's viable enough, we don't want it. Get excited. We'll put 3 for now. We could end up scaling back to 2, but it is a key. 3 is a key number for Heimerdinger. Unfortunately, we don't really have much else for 3s that makes sense. We could do like a Rising Spell Force, +4 in quick attacks, like solid, but just really not necessary. If we had like Overwhelm, this could be really good. Or guys with like big butts, big butts where this weight really made sense. It'd be like, okay. Shadow Assassin's like the kind of obvious 3-drop. And we'll put the couple Solitary Monks, but we're going to count the number of guys we have at the end and whether this is a viable option or not. So this is where you kind of have to decide, like, Shadow Shift doesn't work with Heimerdinger unless you're protecting one of your other guys, which is kind of just not going to happen, right? Steel Tempest is kind of like a weird life game card. If you're playing against, like, They Who Endures and stuff like that, then it's moderately viable, but I think here it's not. Twin Disciplines is largely viable. The plus attack can make your small guy out of nowhere be big enough to kill like a Fiora or any of those things. So, a couple of these could make sense. I don't think I want to go with 3, though. I don't know how pertinent it is to try to, like, save Dinger with that, or if we can find some other turret to work with Heimerdinger. I do have a secondary concept with Heimerdinger, which I'll explain when we get to it. Definitely going to go with Chump Wump. I'm actually really sad that he's no longer a 4/4. I'd rather have him be 3/4, so that he's big enough to kill 3/3s. But whatever, that's life. Like, the fact that he can trade with a 3/2 now stinks. Before, if someone played like a Frenzy Skitterer and Elise got pumped, you'd still be able to kill the Elise as a 3/4, and you'd be like, whatever. I guess if he's a 3/4 and you get frenzied, you wouldn't even be able to block anymore. So that kind of stinks too. Couple denies for the obvious. I don't think we can run Eminent Benefactor, but I'm going to put him there so we don't forget about him. I want to check the epics available and see if there's anything that makes sense. Kinkle Lifeblade for olden times where he was just that good. We'll put him there for a bit. We have some Static Shocks we can run. If we think we have big guys, we can go with Spirit's Refuge if we believe that the sizes are big enough, right? Because, like, if you do it off a Chump Wump and you save a Chump Wump and gain 4 health, then I would say you paid about 3 for the 4/3 and 1 for the health, right? So it makes reasonable sense. We're going to put the Static Shocks. I think they're largely important right now against all the barriers and just putting guys small enough to die to other spells, but this may adjust as well. And, see, we're well past over 40 at this point. We're going to put a Spirit's Refuge. We have too many Will of Ionia cards right now for something like a Sump Snipe Scavenger. But if we were heavy on Piltover, then you could actually run it, because if you kind of consider it in comparison to Solitary Monk, it's very similar or the same, right? Like, you're paying 1 more to have that 4/3, but you have to have a low enough Will of Ionia account where that would make sense. And unfortunately, we don't. I think if I had about 8, so it was like an 80% likelihood, I'd probably be fine doing it. But at 16, I can't even consider it. Will of Ionia is like a huge stall card. If something comes down or there's a big pump on someone that we can't cope with, Will of Ionia is like that other answer that's really good. If we weren't actually running Heimerdinger, I would actually like to run Jeweled Protector. I think the stat that from differential there, or the stat gain there, is relatively large, especially if you ran stuff like Emerald Awakener, where you could, like, have Emerald Awakener, Shadow Assassins. Like, if you pump a Shadow Assassin and then play a Shadow Assassin, it's a 5/5 elusive. Like, how disgusting is that, I guess, right? Like, most of the normal spells can't kill it. You can't Mystic Shot, get excited. You'd have to, I can't even remember the stupid fight card for Demacia. Thermo it. Like, they'd have to have big guys for it. Usari is another really big, expensive Solitary Monk, but the Challenger can be really nice. Just not likely for what we're doing. There is a concept of running Unlicensed Innovation. We want to stall the game a fair bit. Outside of playing against elusive, unlicensed innovation stalls quite a bit, except for what against riposte decks. Because if you skip one, you skip two, and on three you play an unlicensed, you have a 5/5. Like think of it like when you play against all the Demacia decks. The Demacia decks that run Karma also run unlicensed, but any of the like Lux weird variations have Remembrance. Remembrance can often be just quite better than this because you get what a 5/5 toughness, a 5/5 that could have toughness and lifesteal, or a 5/4 with Challenger that like replaces itself. But it is available. It is an available option. So we do have to consider it. Another option is Stand United. The double barrier is kind of like whatever, but it can switch our target out. So against decks with like Vigilance, this could be largely relevant, or messes with an opponent because they like challenge one guy and you switch it out. So like this is an available option. I think Ritual Renewal costs actually too much for the concept. So you're paying 7 for what? Pretty much like a slightly above double health potion plus draw one, and it's slow. That's really expensive. So the main card I wanted to build around here is actually True Shot Barrage. I think right now the way the format's going, because of the way we have most of our drops and the whole like Demacia setups, the True Shot Barrage could actually kill two guys. If you play against Bannerman and you're on evens, you could probably jam it right away and actually just kill two guys or put yourself in a good position for it. Whether that's true or not is kind of unknown, but we're going to put 2 of those in because I think I want to run that. Then after that, it's kind of like, hey, where do you want to go with stuff? I played Yoni in the Ezreal deck, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And it's mainly to get Ezreal's trigger online while it's also kind of stalling and just being a big guy. So like that's a potential option, or you could just go like Empyrean if you don't really care about that. He's a very big guy, has the elusive, kind of harasses the shit out of people. If we're low on dudes, we could go Karina for kind of like the wipe. And the board wipe probably makes sense with the way our deck's situated, so we might have to look at that. Also, Progress stays an option for Heimerdinger, but we'd have to put guys that kind of get in the way for the opponent to really burn their burn spell on that, and then Heimer comes down and Progress stays and get us an 8/8. But if Heimerdinger can play this, like he's just in such a good spot. Plaza Guardian's also viable, but I think at that point, you have to play so many spells to get it cheap enough where it's worth it. I guess if you Karma and you draw 4 cards, then you just like don't care at that point. But alright, so let's go done here. We're gonna save and then come back and adjust. Probably should have put a freaking period in front. Now here's the thing. I'm not saying this deck's gonna work, but we're gonna make the adjustments right now and then go test it out. All right, so what's the breakdown we have here? Oh, actually, no, there was one last thing. What does Heimerdinger create, right? Because this is probably the most important part. So, like, 0 makes a challenger. We don't have zeros. If we progress stay, we could get access to these. Same issue kind of with Wrenchbot. He's, 1/1's okay. 2/1 toughness is okay. Florbergon was the main one. Playing 3 drops and getting elusives was really strong. In the heyday, I think going Fearsome was also pretty good, because like you just traded out with guys and didn't care. I think nowadays the big one that would stand out is actually Rocket Blaster. So on your attacks, you'd set yourself up to win the fights always, or not always, but most of the time. So if there were enough 5-drop spells, I think you could build around Rocket Blaster. I think the Overwhelm is just like, it gets damage in, so it's so-so. And the Armored Barrier is actually good on blocks. So if you like, I don't know, open with the True Shot and you kill off the chump blockers, then play him and swing, like that could be a good spot. And then you have T-Hex. So now we have the hard part of cutting 8 cards and deciding whether we want additional things. I feel like I'm okay with Dinger dying if someone burns him out. So I don't think I want to run the Refuge. The Refuge does work with big things, though. As a protection form. Let me think. All right. Does it say how many guys we have? We have 20 units right now. We're going to cut any of these. Eager Apprentice is pretty terrible, I think, for what we're going for here. So we're going to cut him. think I'm actually I'm gonna run one Shadow Monk and test it. We can actually go check what the epics are now. Because he dies, creates a random epic card, but it'll have to be from our region. So it'll have to be one of these. I actually forgot to put show unowned when I went through the cards, so I gotta go back in case there's anything I missed that would make sense. So like some of these are just really good, right? And some of these not so much. In general, being a 3/3 that gives us a card back in hand could be largely viable if we feel like we need to hit that guy on curve. So I think he's an interesting concept as far as like if you just need value, pure value. He's a 3/3, trades with some of those early game guys, and then gets you a card back so you can ditch it to like get excited or rummage. All right, so let's go with that. Let's take off the epic. Check the unknowns. Counterfeit copies, don't need that. Don't want recall. Wow, I don't know Puffcat Peddler. That's hilarious. Okay, so I have most of the cards, so we're fine in that regard. I think I really, really want to run this Jeweled Protector, but I can't do it with Karmas and Heimerdingers. Or I could, right? But it's a weird scenario with that. If our 5 was always like, we want to hit a guy, and we don't want to actually cast either of these, then we could definitely fit him in. But you would have to have like more viable options. So at that point, it would be like, if I ran like 3 Shadow Assassin, 3 Kinko Lifeblades, and 3 Jewel Protectors, that could do some pretty disgusting stuff. And like that may be a viable option because there's sometimes where you just don't need to burn someone out, right? And like the Kinko Lifeblades kind of get you that health back that you weren't getting before. Making Chump on bigger largely irrelevant, but making like a Pickpocket huge is fine. Making Dinger fine, like huge could be like a huge pain in the ass for the opponent. Our deck is quite slow in the current situations, though. So here's the thing. I have 5 3s. I think I'm okay going away from Flash. I wish I could click it and see the cards that it can make, but like, we can just do this. And it has to be a spell. So it can only make these 8 cards. These are actually all viable here. This one in particular gives us a weird board wipe. Would I be okay with this? I feel like I'd probably be okay with this. I forgot to put these in. It's real random, though. How bad is random? My deck's expensive, though. Like, expensive is problematic. I guess if I hit a Dawn and Dusk, I'm not super happy about it. But if we copy Shadow Assassins, you're okay with it, right? If we copy Chump Wumps, you could get 4 of the stupid card in hand. If we... The other stuff we just don't really... We don't get huge or good access to. I guess if you copied a Heimerdinger and then you played like a Flash or something after, you go kind of crazy. Ugh. All right, let's go back to looking at regular stuff. All right, so I've somehow added more additional cards in my deck. All right, let's cut the refuge, cut a static. We'll cut the benefactor. I think I have too many units for solitary, honestly. Like, I guess hitting it on 3 is fine because I don't have 2s. Hitting it later is the weird part. It seems like it's a pretty unstable card at times. We'll cut the Kinko. We'll put this back for right now. $48. God. I'm already struggling to cut some of these. I think cutting the flash just makes sense. The guy form is really good though. Like that was the big thing with like Heimer into untaps, right? It was just always bananas. I could cut a progress day and keep the flash for it. The progress day is weird though, because it actually sets up our deny static shocks and will of Ionas to work with Heimerdinger. But will we run out of cards enough is the real question. I think if I ran Eagers, I'd probably be more inclined to run out of cards. Let's cut the Solitary Monks. I think Key Guardian starts getting cute. We'd probably have to cut one of these pieces of removal. $44 cards, man. This seems so tight now. This is so easy back in the day. Because we can run 2 rummages. Right. How good are the jury rigs is the real question. So I have to cut 3. Alright, you're out, Flash of Brilliance. I tried. Alright, we got 2 more cuts. Kind of want to cut a Chump Wump. But I kind of want that second Progress Day. Progress Day just seems unlikely to actually get resolved. So we'll leave it like that with Dingers. The Rummages are what? Worse without the Chump Wumps? And the Get Exciteds as well. But I don't think we care that much. He's not as good as he used to be. Alright, so we got 1 cut to make. With less Rummages, I could cut a Jury Rig. I think we'll run like this. Alright, the cost might be really high. Let's go back and look at the cost now. Go get a calculator. Oh shit. Tried to use the calculator and I fucked up, hit other shit. Alright, so 4 plus 12 plus 24 plus 32 plus 30 plus 12 plus 14 plus 8 divided by 30. Their average card costs like 4.5. And that's not counting thermo, which is like interchangeable. So let's say our average card costs about 5. Alright. Is there something better we can run than Chump Wump? I may actually consider. Where's that 4-drop guy I wanted? I actually like him. YOLO this shit. Let's get rid of Chump Wumps and run Eminent Benefactors. What are you looking for? What do you mean a joint bank account? Yeah, go to my wallet in my room. It's in there. It's not in the main section though. It's in the stack. It's with the stack of money. Yes. Sorry guys. Worst recording snafu ever. Alright, so let's see. I want to try some Eminent Benefactor. Here's the problem with Eminent Benefactor is I don't immediately get access to ditching a card to get excited. But it sets up our progress days better if I have it like that. At that point, do I even want rummages? I think I don't want rummages. I think I can cut rummages. But that card's much better with Karma. When Karma hits, the Rummage is insane. But if we're getting rid of some of that stuff, it changes the way that the fluff works in our deck. It also makes Jerry rigorous. Alright, so let's try this. And I could actually run Eager Apprentice now. Eager Apprentice sets us up better for getting some early damage in, sets us up for the Unlicensed Innovation, being able to keep True Shot Barrage, Progress Days while still blocking. It would have been good with the Solitary Monk as well, because if you play him, you got him for like 0. He's also sets up decently well with Thermo. Alright, so just to double check again, what are the epics? Yeah, they're pretty much all late game bombs, right? Like, if you hit trash, you just throw it away. Alright, I think I'm good for trying this. We're at 16 units. Can I put Solitary Monk back? And over what? Now we'll run as is and see what happens. Alright, let's go screw up my ranking. Oh baby, let's do this. Go time. Okay. Go away. I can't do that right now. We can keep Eager for hitting stuff. I think we're okay with this. We're likely going to see the Archer. But if he plays something that has 1 health, we get Thermo. Yeah. Alright, we'll just pass here. Yep, there we go, baby. Let's just pass. He wants my guy.
For glory, you're mine.
I should have played the Eager Apprentice there.
Check out the goods on this one.
I'm okay with this.
Faster than my arrow?
She has to die though, right? If I want to dump a card to Eager Apprentice to the Get Excited, it would probably be that. If he plays another Ash here, I get to play Karma.
Many tribes under one banner.
If I thermal that, I get to swing. But I could just take 5 and be okay with it. Alright, let's open with the Eager Apprentice. The rationale here behind the Eager Apprentice is it didn't change our mana while it's giving him an action to play a guy. So I can see what's happening.
All the world on one
Oh.
arrow.
Hmm. Not allowed.
Unify the tribes.
So 2 of them are dead, and we have a 3rd thermal. We're fine just ending here. We'll just get value off of Karma. We'll chump block.
The War Mother will unite us all.
Those are some big guys.
Today we fight as one. Avarosans, stand together.
Act with conviction. Peace has its cost.
Frost? Yeah. That's okay.
Oh, what do we gain?
So we can get excited, kill him now. Karma's just been getting us value. Hmm.
Silent as death. I need just a moment.
Those are big.
The order rewards its faithful.
We have another Karma, so I don't care if she does.
Night falls.
Not allowed.
Cease.
I'll cut them apart. Face me.
Our banner will lead the way.
Oh, what? Yo, go back in. What happened? Yo, got wrecked. Do you guys have any parting words for that shit? T60, you also didn't tell me I had stopped streaming. I would have left it up before. Oh man. That's not cool. Trying to reopen it. Well, looks like we just straight up got obliterated, guys. Yep, just logging in. All right, so I guess this video's over with. We were trying to get there. We almost got there, guys. We had karma. We had all the stuff. I hate you, game. I hate you. Well, at least we know the deck still operated okay, right? Like, I had a bunch of options there. Those guys got really big. Like, really, really big. But we were going to be okay. He didn't draw cards yet. We killed things. It would have been great. Life. Till next time, guys.